Is it your intuition or your fear, your delusion, your confusion, your doubt? In this video, we're going to explore when to trust your intuition and when to listen to that voice of doubt within that has you questioning your intuition. The key word throughout this video is discernment. And we're going to be exploring discernment and why it is so important that you develop your discernment consciously and let it be okay to doubt yourself in the process of learning to trust your intuition. In this video, we'll cover 9 reasons why it is so important that you trust your intuition, 4 ways that you can develop your discernment, a few personal stories of my experiences with discernment and delusion, and all about what can skew our intuition. If we haven't met, I'm Karen McMullen, and I help sensitive souls have the faith that they're going to be materially supported as they step into their power to serve the common good through right action. On this channel, I share human design videos as well as channeled messages and everything to serve these sensitive souls. So if that's you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that we can be in touch whenever I post some new content. All right, so let's start with 9. Okay, 9. 9 reasons why it is important to listen to your intuition. Reason number 1 to listen to your intuition is that it builds your confidence, your ability to confide in yourself, your self-trust. It also builds your self-esteem. So when you trust yourself and you feel confident in yourself, then you begin to have a higher sense of self-esteem, which influences the way that you move through the world in its entirety. Reason number 3 to trust your intuition is that it will increase your trust in higher power, God, the universe, all that is, consciousness. However you want to see that according to your beliefs, it will increase your confidence in a guiding light that will pave your path and that's looking out for you. Reason number 4 to trust your intuition is that when you do trust yourself and you trust a higher power, you create safety in your life, and your intuition will keep you safe. And following that, your instincts about where to be, where not to be, I really do believe that that is essential to taking responsibility for our own safety in this world. Similarly, reason 5 to trust your intuition is that it will help you maintain your well-being. So oftentimes we can get a lot of clues about what is going to keep us well inside of our bodies, well in advance of having to develop any kind of major symptom or illness or imbalance. Reason 6 to listen to your intuition is that it protects your energy. So when you listen to your intuition, you're going to keep your energy inside of yourself. As my teacher Jerome Bragg says, that's the purpose of boundaries, is to keep the energy of your soul within your body, which I just love that definition. And so using your intuition is going to guide you around, who to interact with, for how long, and in what ways, and how to make clear agreements, how to set boundaries, how to decide where to be, where not to be, all of which really protects your energy so that you're using it in the correct way. Reason 7 to listen to your intuition is that you begin to develop your character. When you listen to your intuition, you become who you are here to be. You are guided into new situations, into new experiences that develop you into who you are here to be. And it really can develop strong elements of your character that you never would have thought of if you hadn't listened to your intuition. Reason 8 to listen to your intuition is that it highlights the curriculum of your life. So when you listen to your intuition, you are going to be taken into the situations that you're meant to go through and that become the syllabus or the part of the class that that develops you into the character that you are here to be. So it will guide the curriculum of your life. And finally, reason 9 to listen to your intuition is that it's magical. Listening to your intuition can be so magical, and some of the synchronicities and just unbelievable things that can unfold when you follow your intuition. It's just it makes you believe in the magic of life. So with all of those good reasons to listen to your intuition, you may be wondering why it could be a good thing to also entertain the doubt of your intuition. And I really have found that having intuition and doubt really go hand in hand. And so you can have them both happening at the same time, and entertaining both of them is of value. And I'd like to share a little bit more about why. This is the risk of listening to your intuition, is that you could be delusional, you could be wrong, and you could make false accusations, or you could believe something to be true that is untrue. And this is always why we doubt ourselves, is because we don't want to be delusional. We want to make sure that what we're believing is accurate. And I'd like to go into some reasons why your intuition may not be accurate, and then we'll go into 4 ways that you can learn to develop your discernment around your intuition. Okay, so the biggest thing about intuition is that it is a personal perception. Our personal perception is always going to influence the information that we are able to receive, like a filter. So the things that will influence the filter through which we are able to receive intuitive information are our beliefs, our wounds, our experiences, our opinions. So let's take a ridiculous example. Let's say that every time you've ever had an encounter with a post-delivery person, they have physically or verbally assaulted you, okay? So if you had that experience over and over and over, you would probably develop a belief that post-delivery people are abusive and unsafe. If you were to be walking down the street and you saw a person in a post-delivery uniform, your intuition might tell you that you are in danger. Now, is that really your intuition, or is that a fear based on a previous perception that was developed through life experience? If you had all that life experience with post-delivery people, it might be, a reasonable thing to just respond from that assumption of fear. However, it could be inaccurate. And so this is something for you to question when you're in that moment, because you're likely taking in input from your environment and interpreting it through a distorted lens at that point. This is something that I experience often as a channel, because when I'm channeling, I know that I need to let go of my personality self and allow myself to be filled with wisdom from a higher source in order to have information that's of value, that's not filtered through my personality. So I consciously set aside my personal beliefs and my own personal perceptions in order to allow that to happen. The more established opinions I have about something, the less I am able to channel and just to be open and unbiased when I'm channeling. And this happens to me when I'm doing channeled sessions with clients, where they'll ask a question and I have a strong opinion about it as a personality, Karen, based on my experience and what I believe to be accurate. And so I will find that in those sessions, I speak from my personality perspective first. Because if I don't honor what my own personal viewpoint is about something and share that first and kind of empty it out, then I can't be empty to receive something that is unbiased or less biased, let's say. And so that's what I do. I'll say, hey, well, before I answer that from a channel perspective, I just like to share how I see it personally first, and then I'll share what I see as well. And it's beautiful because usually what ends up happening in the channel session is that my perspective as a personality is also very valuable to the client. And so having both perspectives is of value. It can be hard to trust our intuition and what's coming through to us when we have a strong attachment to a certain outcome. This has happened to me so many times, particularly around love, where I will be very attached to a certain person and relationship, and my intuition says, no, this person's not for you. You know, you need to end this, you need to go away. And I will really struggle to trust that intuition because my personal attachment and my feelings are saying something else. And so many times I have doubted my intuition and played out, more drama than necessary just to affirm and confirm the intuition through experience rather than just trusting. I mean, as I progress and learn to trust my intuition more, I am choosing more often than not to just listen to the intuition, even if it's against my personal preferences. However, I do believe that there's a value in living things out, even if your intuition offers you a shortcut. And it's the experience of following your intuition and having things go smoothly and having magical things happen, and then the experience of not following and doubting your intuition and having things go poorly that then begins to lead you to learn to trust your intuition because you have had the experience both ways. Your higher self is not attached to a certain outcome. So your higher self isn't attached in this case to you having a love relationship with this exact person at this exact time. So, the personality can be attached when the higher self is not attached, and the attachment of the personality then leads you to doubt your intuition when in fact you aren't really even doubting your intuition, you're just attached. Our intuition can also be strongly impacted by our fear. And our fear can then lead us to believe that we're receiving intuition about something that's not quite accurate. It's just actually fear. So this can be very challenging. This happened for me with the coronavirus originally when I was in Mexico. And when the coronavirus was first happening, Canada put out an announcement saying all Canadians must return home. If you're abroad, you need to return home. And we might close down the borders, and we didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if I decided to stay in Mexico, whether I'd even be able to see my family for quite a while. And there was a lot of uncertainty, and I wasn't even sure if I would be safe where I was in Mexico. And so there was a lot of fear running through my body. It was just so palpable. There was a lot of adrenaline and heightened emotions, and it was very hard for me to access my intuition. Right at the very beginning of the coronavirus, my intuition said, go home. And, that was obviously, looking back, it meant go back to Canada, but I was too attached to living in Mexico to let it go easily. And so I didn't leave because I thought, well, what if home is here? What if home is here in Mexico? And so I really explored that option for several months before concluding through undeniable evidence that it was in fact indicating for me to come back to Canada. But during that time when I was so filled with fear and unable to really clearly access my intuition, I did seek help. I sought help and outside perspectives from trusted advisors and friends. Our intuition can also be off if we are lying to ourselves or suppressing or denying certain things. So one of the prayers that you can say is, I'm going to read you something. Let me just get it. So I'm going to read you something that I wrote, which I feel is something great that you can activate for yourself whenever you feel like there might be veils of denial or secrecy or delusion or not being able to see the truth. I am now willing to see the truth in all ways and always. I remove any veils of denial that keep me from seeing the truth. I know what I know. I am now willing to speak my truth in all ways and always. I dispel secrets and secrecy. Secrets have no place with me. I harbor truth. I am willing to see. Another risk with intuition is that you can receive intuition or a thought and then begin to develop a mental storyline around it that begins to become self-affirming, even if it's false. And this has to do with something called the reticular activating system. And this part of your brain is basically looking for evidence. Like it's the part that if you say, oh, I want to see a red car, or I love red cars, then you start to see red cars everywhere because now your perception is filtering out the red cars. And it can be hard to admit when we have been perceiving falsely. I think that's something where we all need to have compassion for ourselves, that we're learning to discern, and it's okay if you developed a storyline that wasn't accurate and you realize it and then you just say, oh my gosh, wow, I'm really sorry that I acted based on this perception when that I see now that that's not true. I mean, having that ability is, I feel, it's a part of just being human. On a collective level, this is so important that we have this ability, because if you look at what happened with the storming of the Capitol building, was that people were believing certain things based on news that they'd heard and evidence that built itself. And this is what's happening with Facebook, is that people are developing an entire perception that then becomes self-affirming, and they want to then take action based on it without having reasonable self-doubt. And this is why reasonable self-doubt is going to be essential to us, because we need to be questioning our perceptions in order to stay close and allied with the truth. So how can you develop your discernment and stay allied with the truth? I like that statement. That just came to me right now. Here are 4 ways to avoid being delusional, fearful, and confusional. Number 1 is to meditate and clear. So learning to clear your mind, to empty yourself out, and just allow your own personality self, your preferences, your desires, your aversions to disappear, and let yourself become a neutral vessel for all that is, to just be. And I do have a series on this channel to learn what meditation is, how to do it, super friendly and easy to do. So definitely check that out if you don't already meditate. It's a very friendly introduction. What happens when you quiet your mind and learn to meditate is you'll begin to have all kinds of voices speaking in your mind, and different thoughts coming through, different tones of voice, different styles of thoughts. You might have picture thoughts, you might have words that are auditory, you might have feelings. You begin to understand the territory of your inner landscape and all the different perceptions that bubble up from within as you sit quietly. The more that you spend time with those perceptions, the more that you will develop discernment. You just will. You'll learn to know, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's a effed up thought. Where did that come from? Oh, that came from my childhood. Oh, wow, I didn't even see this whole thing that was a part of my reality that has informed my perception. And you begin to dismantle the personality self as you just sit with consciousness. So the second thing which ties into that in order to perceive correctly and to develop discernment is to heal your childhood wounds. So our childhood will influence how we see the world. If we had an unsafe childhood and we do not address that lack of safety, we're going to perceive the world as unsafe, and then we will have experiences of lack of safety to affirm that. If we were emotionally neglected as children and we didn't have our emotional needs met and we felt invisible, alone, and unimportant, we are going to take that perception into adulthood, and we are going to have relationships with people who affirm to us that our emotional needs don't matter and that we are unimportant. And this will just keep happening until we actually go back and address the original wound and heal it. So we won't be able to be a clear vessel until we are conscious of and healing from these wounds. A third way to develop discernment about your intuition and to stay allied with the truth is to learn about your human design. Human design is really quite an amazing lens that you can use to perceive your intuition. So for example, everybody in human design has one of 7 different authorities, and these are decision-making authorities, places in your body or places that you can go to make decisions. So for example, I have emotional decision-making authority, which means that I need to feel things out and take my time emotionally with decisions to know what's right for me, which is also part of why I've had to struggle with my intuition, which comes to me more as a voice that speaks short and clear sentences, such as, he's not right for you. This relationship isn't right. And then my emotions are like, well, wait, I love this person. I'm totally not feeling like leaving. This feels good, it feels bad, but I'm confused. And so I need to take time with my emotional process to get clear. And that has, that gives me compassion for myself, my process. I also have a defined spleen, which gives me instinct and intuition in the now. And so I know that part of me has responded, for example, in life or death situations. Instinctually, my body just knows what to do and it just does it. And that's a part of my intuition as well. You will also get information about your intuition versus your fears or your delusions through your undefined centers. So, for example, I have an undefined ego center, which I know speaks in my mind as a voice of doubt, like, oh, you're not good enough to do a human design reading for this person. You don't have anything of value to say. When I hear that voice, I know that's not my intuition speaking. That's my undefined ego center conditioning me to say that I'm not good enough. So I don't need to give that voice power by backing it up with my energy and my action. I can disregard that voice because I understand in my human design that is a voice of conditioning. Similarly, let's say you had an undefined spleen center in human design, which has to do with fears. You might be dealing with amplified fears that make you want to stay in a relationship out of attachment versus out of it being really right for you. And this, if you had an undefined spleen, you would want to learn to discern between fearful attachment and your intuition. And you would know that you would have a tendency towards holding on to things that aren't good for you just so that you feel safe. So when you get a good understanding of your human design, it can really point out to you some of your intuitive blind spots as well as your intuitive strengths and the different types of voices that might be speaking to you intuitively in your design. The fourth way to develop discernment, and I really do think this is important, is to ask people. Check in with people you trust, their judgment, who might be very discerning themselves or quite objective, or they're just people you trust. Ask them what they think. Say, hey, I'm struggling, I'm confused around this. Part of me thinks this and part of me thinks that. What do you see in this situation? and get some outside perspective on your situation. On that same note, I tend to avoid leaders who are overly certain and dogmatic about their point of view. Some people come by that honestly. Let's say in their human design, they have a defined head and ajna. So the way that they think is defined, they're going to be more certain. The way that they think is fixed, and so they really just see things in one way. And so they tend to speak with a lot of certainty. But even then, I tend to avoid them. Even if I like the way that they think, I might take it in a little bit. But whenever I've had a mentor that had a defined ajna, because I have an undefined ajna, I have found that I've been brainwashed by them. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be overly influenced by someone's perspective who is dogmatic. So nowadays, I'm really looking to be in the presence of people who speak more just from their viewpoint. Like, this is how I perceive it. This is my experience. This is what I have received, but not this is how it is. For me, this comes from an understanding of what intuition is and what really a self is, which is one prism, one prism of light who has a unique spectrum. And, my intuition is my intuition. It's for me, from me, and it's unique to me. And so my perspective and my prism, my viewpoint, even if I am channeling, it's going to be unique to me, and it's going to reflect my uniqueness, and to own that and let that be okay, that it doesn't need to be a universal perspective. Oh my gosh, it's starting to get dark here. So I want to just share a few other things about intuition that can help us understand kind of what we're dealing with when we are working with our intuition and learning to be discerning. One is intuition is mystical. I mean, wow, we're receiving information from the unseen, and something that is beyond what we can possibly understand as an individual self. And not only are we receiving this information mystically, but we're receiving it through possibly many different languages. You might be receiving it through a voice in your head, words or images, through dreams, through signs in the outside world, through a felt sense in your body, or just a knowing. We probably aren't going to get from our intuition like a full-on detailed explanation of something. Sometimes we do, and that's amazing. But sometimes we just get clues, and we need to decipher, and we need to discern, and it's not scientific. Trust yourself in the process. Yes, absolutely trust yourself, but also don't deny your doubt. Entertain your doubt. Just allow yourself to explore and to learn. All right, so I definitely want to wrap this up. I hope this has been valuable to you. Please comment below. Let me know something that you took away from this video, what you found useful about it. I'd really love to know. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, take care. Mwah! Bye.